At what point did we stop being the Movie Men podcast and we just became like the Middle Earth podcast?
I feel like
two episodes came out today. This and The Fellowship of the Ring.
I feel like we have had that turning point in our show and in what we do, because not only Rings of Power, not only Fellowship of the Ring, not only concluding the Peter Jackson trilogy, which, you know, all that, even in, like, it was one of the questions episodes, either the one where I asked you questions or the one you asked me, we started with like a 10-minute segue of like the 70s cartoon animated Lord of the Rings, not trilogy, but 2 movie special. So my point is, I feel we're just at the point where, like, even if it's talking about Forrest Gump, we'll be having a segue on Middle Earth and all things Middle Earth, and
right?
we're just at that point in our movie podcast.
So yeah, I agree, and like, and
I'm
so
here
then
for it.
not only that, but this is like this isn't even a movie.
Yeah,
we're reviewing a TV show,
and a TV show that's a new release, because we've done one TV show before. That was Black Mirror.
We did Black Mirror,
but that wasn't a new release.
No.
So this is all kinds of new territory here.
We should rethink everything. I
want to go home.
Hello and welcome.
Rethink my life. Yes, welcome to the Movie Men podcast. I'm Peter. That's Brady. We are your hosts of the Movie Men podcast, and we are here to talk about the new and exciting and expensive Rings of Power television program.
Extremely expensive.
Like, no more change back on the nickel expensive.
Yeah, this is the most expensive show ever made on like an episode per episode basis.
Yeah.
So, and I like, let's just dive in. We just dive in.
Let's dive in. Oh yeah,
I think it shows.
How so?
That they spent a shit ton of money on this.
Okay.
Like, just in that none of the effects, you know, you like you'd be like watching a show and you're like, oh, you know, say you're watching like a show that could also have been a movie, something like I don't know, like a Flash show or Batman say there's like a Superman show, some sort of superhero thing or sci-fi thing or something. So a show that's like effects heavy. You can like there's a discernible difference between TV effects and movie effects.
Right. Oh yeah.
Right. Like the compositing is just for TV. They're like, well, it's just TV, and we don't have the budget to really refine this.
And usually audiences are accepting of that. They say, hey, you know,
yeah,
this is
you're
television.
like, well, it's a show.
Yeah.
There's none of those. Like, this is the effects in this show are movie quality.
That is true. Yeah.
Like, it is a stunningly beautiful show to watch. I
remember when I was watching Lost, and you would hate it. I love it. And I know it's 15 years ago we're looking at, so that there's that working against it. But I remember even watching it at the time, and some of the effects were, you know, you cringe a little bit and go, okay, I'm not here for the effects, you know.
Oh,
it
for
is
sure.
what it is. And that was a major national television show, you know,
right.
of all the things to have a good budget at the time. And, you know, it still showed like at the time. So my point with you is, yes, none of that is occurring so far in this show. When you watch it, you go, you don't really think about it. In this, you're making a point of it. It's just very seamless.
Like a plane crashing in Lost versus a plane crashing in Castaway. Even though Castaway predates Lost.
Yes, 100%. Yeah.
There's no comparison.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have a hot take. It's a weird hot take. This show, okay, look. There's so many interesting things to talk about. I mean, so this show is, I'm trying to figure out who will enjoy this show.
Okay.
What is the ideal target demographic
Sure.
or psychographic, really,
Yeah.
of this show.
Okay.
Because it's set in the Second Age. So for those of you who don't know, for those of you who have a little bit of Middle Earth, like you've seen The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings and, whatever, that all takes place during the Third Age of Middle Earth, right? So Tolkien's works are broken up into ages. You have the First Age, the Second Age, the Third Age, and then the Fourth Age starts when the ring is destroyed and blah blah blah, and Aragorn takes the throne and so on and so forth. And so it's important to understand that Middle Earth, and also, I mean, it's not important, but it is fascinating, and I think a lot of people don't realize this. I think a lot of people think of Narnia, or Middle Earth, think of Middle Earth sort of like Narnia, in that it is a fictional elsewhere location. Middle Earth, like everything that happens in Tolkien's works, is his fictional history of our ancient world.
Sure.
Right. There's a reason why Middle Earth is shaped very, very much like Europe. Right. So it's like, so anyways, and if you see a zoomed out, like if you see all the lands south of Middle Earth, it's shaped very much like Africa, right? Like it is meant to be a historical
Right.
thing of sort of our world.
Yep.
So two important things. One is that, it's broken up into ages. The other is that everything in Tolkien's works kind of fall into two different categories. There's the world of the scene, which is like S1E1, which is most of what we see and interact with and know about in Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. And there's also the world of the unseen, which is kind of like the Nazgul and sort of like what Frodo kind of goes into when he puts on the ring, right? And he's all of a sudden in this like wraithy kind of, that's the world of the unseen.
Sure.
And that is, the unseen is referenced in the first episode of Rings of Power when Galadriel and her party are in that ancient fortress. And they see that sort of like melted, frozen, half mummified orc.
Sure.
And she says something to the effect of like someone's been meddling in the sorcery of the unseen, like blah blah blah, right? Messing around with stuff they shouldn't be messing around with. But I'm trying to figure out, my hot take is I'm trying to figure out, who is this show really ideal for? Because here's the issue. I think that if you are an entry-level Tolkien person, you've seen The Lord of the Rings, you've seen The Hobbit, you don't really know anything else, right? Like you don't know, like you think Gandalf is a human, and you think that Sauron is a wizard, and you think that like all of these things that aren't true.
Yep.
Then you've never heard the word Tom Bombadil, you don't know like any of this stuff, right? Then I think this is a very confusing show.
Okay.
Or is a show that's like, I don't know, like it is just kind of won't make a lot of sense to you.
Right. Will this show make sense to people who haven't read the extra
Silmarillion
books?
Yeah,
the Silmarillion, the unfinished tales.
But then here's the issue. If you're hang on. I'm what is it that I was okay, no. I've already misspoken on my own hot take. That's how hot a take it is. If you're a nobody and you know nothing about Middle Earth, you just kind of have seen The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings, then maybe you will enjoy this show, but not to its full potential. Because you'll just kind of take what they're giving to you at face value, and you'll be like, okay, like this is a long time ago, and blah blah blah, and okay, this is like before the rings were forged. Okay. If you're a total Tolkien head and you understand everything and you've read all the back lore and the appendices and stuff like that, then I think you'll enjoy this show because you have a concept of what's happening. But I also think you'll be frustrated with this show. because this show being set in the Second Age, it's set and based on a lot of the events from the Silmarillion, which is a book that the creators of this show do not have the rights to.
Oh, right. Yes.
And so it's tricky because there's a lot of stuff that you have to do, but you can't do, and you have to do a little bit differently, or just sort of wink and nod at in a, well, I don't know, we could be talking about anything, but the diehard fans know what it is that because there's like a lot of legal gray area, which is such like a screwy concept of like, you know, oh, we're gonna make a thing about whatever series. It'd be like if they made the Harry Potter movies and didn't have rights to the Harry Potter books, like they couldn't use the material.
Yeah. It's weird being able to dip your toes in almost all the way, but you can't put your head under the water. Like there's just certain things you can't do.
Right. The people who I don't think this show will be very enjoyable to are the people who I would say you fall into the category of, which is the in-between.
Oh,
you're not a Tolkien novice.
Yep.
But you're also not completely well-versed in everything.
Yep.
But you fall into the category where, okay, you understand, you know a little bit of like extra behind-the-scenes stuff, and you're familiar with a map. If I handed you an unmarked map of Middle-earth, and I said, show me where Rohan is.
All right.
You would be able to kind of, it's right here. Okay, point to Mirkwood, right? You'd be able to show me which forest is Mirkwood.
I could throw the dart in a dark room and hit it.
Right. And so, but this is the category that I don't think will enjoy this show. And the reason being is because the show doesn't do if you kind of feel like you have a slightly better than everyone else grasp of Middle-earth, the show is really going to confuse you and mess you up.
Right.
Because it doesn't, the world is very different. Like it shows maps in this. It kind of does that flyover map thing to kind of orientate you.
Yep.
But this is thousands of years before the Middle-earth that any of those people, people like you are familiar with, exists. So there is no Gondor. Yeah. There is no, the Shire is not the Shire. The Shire is Eredor, is the realm of Eredor, and is largely populated by elves. And is, so there's all this like, I don't know, and much of the show is happening, like all the stuff with Elrond and Gladriel and stuff like that, it is happening in the kingdom of Lindon, I can never remember. But it's sort of like along the coast, like the Grey Havens, and so I think if you are someone like you,
right,
then all of a sudden you're seeing these flyovers of this area. You're going to see the hobbits. You're going to see the Harfoots, which are hobbits, and your assumption is going to be, okay, well now we're in the Shire. When we're not, we're closer towards like Mirkwood Forest at this point.
Right. So where you're coming from is the person who has no knowledge of Lord of the Rings universe might get some entertainment from it because, it's a well-made show, it's entertaining, and they get what they get. The well-read fan will get the head nods, get some things.
Yeah, they'll be frustrated by it because they'll be like, oh, there's a lot of unfaithful material here.
Right. But the in-betweener, might be the one who doesn't really get all... There's things that they wouldn't understand, like wouldn't appreciate, and there'd be things that they might appreciate, but not quite a lot. I would say also with the in-betweener, again, speaking on behalf of one... I would also say there's just kind of like the psychology of it too, where literally every reference or every time something's said, you go, was that supposed to mean something to me? And you second guess it and you go, oh yeah, okay, no, I think that's a reference to this event or this person, or times
but
where
it likely isn't.
Or times where it's like literally nothing, where it's just something that's being said and it's, not to have some meaning. So I can see where the in-betweener might be at a disadvantage, potentially.
I think the in-betweener is going to walk away going, I thought I got it. Like I thought I knew. I thought I understood Middle Earth.
Yeah, or
but
I
that
wonder,
map is not one I'm familiar with. That's
yeah,
not
or
what Middle
walking away
Earth looks
saying,
like.
gee, I wonder if that scene would have hit more if I had this knowledge of this race at this time, or insert blank. Yeah,
and you know what? But I think in all of these concerns, like this whole, I think just an extra couple of lines in the opening monologue by Galadriel would have cleared so much of it up. Just like an overflying shot of the entire map of Middle Earth.
Yep.
And even zoomed out, because like here's the thing too, like they're talking, there's a lot in this show we finally sort of kind of see, well we see the Undying Lands in the beginning when Galadriel's a kid, we see which is Valinor,
right, that's true,
and
which is the opening scene, is it not?
It is the opening scene.
Yeah.
So, but there's no explanation of like, and there's so many, there's maps readily available of like a zoomed out version where you can see, okay, here's Middle Earth. Over to the far left is Valinor. In between the two of them is the island of Numenor, which eventually gets sunk into, and like Sauron spends a long time there after the One Ring's created and all this stuff, and becomes like the right-hand man to the king and corrupts everyone. Like there's just so much, and even the entire west coast of Middle Earth used to go much, much, much further. There's a whole kingdom. There's like almost 50% of the size of Middle Earth that is now sunken into the ocean. Well, show that. Explain that. Just give like just a brief where it's all zoomed out and it's something like, in the Second Age when Middle Earth looked much different than the time of the War of the Ring, or like just something that will take the people who are sort of in that in between category, who are familiar with the map, and just explain to them, just tip your hat to them and say the map's a lot different, and it's not because we don't know what we're talking about. It's because the map we're talking about thousands of years.
Maybe some type of dialogue that serves as a bridge to kind of say, hey, this is what you know, this is where we're at, this is where we're going to be beginning our journey, or this is what's going to be covered. Something to kind of really just bridge it.
So anyways, that's an extremely long hot take, but I think that there's a misstep. I think that
a missed opportunity.
There's an entire fold of people who could have been brought in and their experience elevated simply by fleshing out that opening monologue a little bit.
That's interesting.
Yeah. What do you... You're a big Lord of the Rings guy.
Sure. Oh, yeah. 100%.
But like the movies Lord of the Rings guy.
Yes.
Like, you're not a big Tolkien guy. Like, if I start talking about, like, it's quite possible that when I just talked about the island of Numenor, that may have been the first time you heard of it.
No, I wouldn't be writing a book on it. I am not of that knowledge of it, but I had heard of it. But you are correct. I'm not a well-read in the...
Right.
In the world of Tolkien. So when I come up from watching this show, I come from the observer of a television show perspective and a fan of the Peter Jackson trilogy perspective, and right. To an extent Middle Earth, but I'm not a well-read Tolkienite. Right.
And I come into this going, why haven't we seen Celeborn yet? Which goes on to become Galadriel's... It should already, I believe at this point, be Galadriel's husband.
Oh.
Right. So there's a lot of like, I don't know. There's a lot of things for me. This show, it seems really unclear from all the reading I've done. It's kind of like, okay, it's not necessarily a continuation or like it's not a direct prequel to Peter Jackson's films.
For sure.
But we've done everything in our power to make all of the weapons and clothing and locations. Like, So I think it is. I think the final word is that this is supposed to be set in the same continuity.
Sure.
As, and we'll know for sure once we see. Well, no, it must be because we've seen the ring and the fonts and everything. Yeah. Like it's totally so. It is the same. Mm. And I don't know again if this was. I mean, it can't be a rights thing. Spend the money. You've already spent so much money. You know what's missing from this show, and what it hit me right off the bat. And I spent the rest of my time watching this first episode, and I couldn't think of anything other than this. It was a major misstep. If this is supposed to be the same continuity, it was a major misstep not to play music that I recognize.
Yeah, yes
not
and no.
To make me feel like you. Obviously, not the Shire music because we're not in the Shire and the Shire doesn't exist. Yeah. But something like just that kind of like. Da 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 da, like whatever it like, or something that's similar.
I don't think so. I understand. Listen, I'm Captain Nostalgia, so I would have been there for that. But I don't know if that makes sense because it's just a different age. It's a different war. It's a different
But think about it's just about like setting like the locational stuff. Think about Star Wars. Every time you're on Tatooine, the same damn melody plays because that is the theme of Tatooine.
And I know you're well aware of this, but there is no Tatooine crossover. Like it's not like Tatooine in episode 1 and Tatooine in episode 7 or 8 or 9. Like where we are in this age is not exactly equivalent to where we are in the age of the films, right?
What do you mean?
Well, I just mean where physically Gondor is in the movie trilogy is not what Gondor means to us in this age, right? Different people, different place. Yeah. Same with the Shire. Like the music that you're associating with these geographical places, it's like space-time, right? Like, yes, they're the same spaces, but it's a completely different organism because of who's living there and what's going on. So I guess I'm just saying I don't think it makes sense.
In The Lord of the Rings, Elrond has his own theme.
Okay.
So when we first see Harold Elrond sitting writing that poem, give me it doesn't even need to be the full thing. It doesn't need just a couple of notes that help establish we're back in that world. This is Middle-earth.
Again, I'm Captain Nostalgia, so I would be fine with that. But just playing devil's advocate, again, who Elrond is here is not who Elrond is 3,000 years or however many thousand years later it is. So, like, him in the War of the Ring and the Lord of the Rings trilogy, he's a different person at that time, right? So, like, right. I guess I just... I guess I just see both sides of it. I would be fine with it, but I also see how it doesn't make sense.
All right, I'm fine. Either way, I do think they're carrying this. I do think they're not doing a well enough job of explaining things to the layman.
I would agree. I would agree that I would classify it as some missed opportunities. Whether it's not using musical tones to kind of make some connection, a dialogue to make some connection. Something to just kind of bridge us over to say, hey, if you're not up to speed, let's just have a little bit of up to speed. Because you're right, it works perfectly in the Fellowship of the Ring for someone who hasn't read any of the books there. Here's a couple minutes of Galadriel, and you know everything you need to know, so then everything from there on makes sense to you.
Yeah, and there's just just a little bit, because the Lord of the Rings, that the opening monologue of Galadriel in Lord of the Rings gave thousands of years of history in the course of a couple of minutes.
2 minutes. Yep.
And it was like, and they did such a good job of getting everyone caught up to speed. And I just feel like they haven't done as good a job in this show. When they're talking about the Dark Lord.
Yeah.
Again, the layman person coming into this, here's Dark Lord, and who do you think?
Yep.
It's Middle-earth, and we're talking about the Dark Lord, so it must be Sauron. Well, no, we're they've talked about Morgoth, but haven't really explained. They say that Sauron was Morgoth's most faithful's, assistant
Homie.
or whatever he was. Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's just so much, I don't know, if you're going to dive into this richness of like how all this transpires and like, there's just so much that I feel like is being missed and not talked about.
You've hooked me on the seeing of the Undying Lands component, because I do feel like I kind of just totally forgot about that until you mentioned it now. Because when the show's opening, I'm like, okay, who are we watching? Oh, okay, that's Galadriel. I think that's Galadriel. Okay, who's that? Oh, that's her brother. Like, instead of just having some type of dialogue to kind of encompass what we're doing and what I should be watching for, they could have spoon-fed it to me a bit more. And I know that maybe makes it sound like I need them to dumb it down a bit, but just something.
No, but they did it in Lord of the Rings. They dumbed it down.
It worked perfectly in Lord of the Rings. So, and I think there's some part of the reason we love Lord of the Rings is just it's a great bedside tale. Like, it is a fictional world, obviously, and it's just it's something to dream on and to kind of lose yourself in, and just stir the pot a little bit to get us going at the beginning. Just turn on the nightlight, get the book cracked open, get us ready to kind of drawn into this story. Now I'm really rethinking this.
Lord of the Rings is a great bedside story, and it requires very little background.
Yeah, just a minute.
And they give you that background. And even though you require, like, basically the concept of this show is the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit require very little background. Having said that, there is a shit ton of background. Like, if the Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings, like, if we take the whole history of Middle Earth, the events of the Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings is like 0.5% of what Tolkien created, of what is out there, what the history was, how it happened, why it happened, the fact that Elrond, and maybe they'll talk about this, maybe this will become a thing, but Elrond actually, and again, the layman person, and probably maybe even if I asked you right now, who is Elrond's mother-in-law?
Oh, Martha.
Galadriel. Elrond's going to marry Galadriel and Celeborn's daughter.
Oh, interesting.
Right. So there's so and so here's the thing. There's so much. There is so much. And so they said, well, there's a lot of background material that we can pull from to make this show. Great. That's fantastic. But if you are going to go thick into the weeds, then you really need to go thick into the weeds. You can't just say, well, there's this really complex background history, and we're going to give you something 10 times more complex than Lord of the Rings, and we're going to give you a fraction of the background and explanation that we did for Lord of the Rings. Right? Like, it's just so, I don't know. It's frustrating. That part of it is frustrating me. Sure. Aside from that, I'm really enjoying the show.
What I'll say,
but yeah.
What I'll say is my impression coming into it. Shout out to friend of the show, Andrew. I shared some of his concerns. He definitely echoed some of my sentiment. Where,
don't beat around the bush. He hates this show.
No, not necessarily.
His Twitter feed the last couple of days.
Oh, see, I haven't seen it since he's seen the show.
The man is shitting all over this thing.
Okay.
He is.
Okay, I have not seen that.
He does not like this show.
I will need to.
He thinks it looks nice.
Well, it does.
And that's it.
Okay, I need it to then I don't want to. I won't speak for him because I haven't seen his comments, so I will refrain from doing that. What I will say is, going into the show, like months ago, when we were all in anticipation, he, like many, like myself, I had some reservations. We've seen what happened with The Hobbit, and it's not even of, hey, how did you desecrate this great book? Or, it's just, it wasn't a great film. We weren't expecting you to hit lightning twice in a bottle where, Lord of the Rings trilogy was magical, spectacular. I just wanted something that was passable, something that wasn't awful. And we watch it because it's Tolkien, but it's not very good. And I think a lot of red flags went up for me and for some people when we saw things coming out about this show. Both the trailer, a lot of people were hyping about something about it, just, I don't know, I wasn't really feeling its vibes. But just things where they didn't have contractual rights for the Silmarillion and certain creative decisions that were leading up to this, I went, ooh, this could go south, and this could be an expensive show that is not very good. That I was expecting the worst, hoping for the best, preparing for the worst. And I have to say, listen, I am not blown away by the show. I am. It's not a must. It's not like I can't put it down. Like if the fire alarm went off, it's not like I'm questioning, well, should I go or should I finish this episode? What do I do? I guess I'm pleasantly surprised that it hasn't disappointed me so far. It's visually pleasing. Like you hit on the effects, the colors, everything is vibrant, everything is great. So it's easy to watch from that regard. It's interesting enough that I'm not disappointed. So I guess I just had such fears and such worries about it that it isn't actually as bad as I thought it could be or it potentially could have been. So I'm pleasantly surprised. Is it incredible? We'll wait and see. It's too early to tell. We've already said some things that we maybe would have changed, but I am pleasantly surprised with how okay it is, and we'll see where it goes. But I've got better feelings about it than The Hobbit so far, and I'm not sure I would have been confident saying that 6 weeks ago.
Sure. Would you not have rather had? Because again, it just feels like a show that they've, they're like, oh, there's a wide world that we could create any story we want kind of in it. Yeah. Would you not, again, just to I don't know, The Wizard of Oz. The Wizard of Oz is a classic movie. Sure and is. When I found out that they were going to make Oz the Great and Powerful, I was like, oh, God, why? And then I watched it, and it's actually not bad. It's actually pretty good. And it it kind of ties in real nicely, and you're like, oh, okay. I feel like I got some interesting backstory. I don't feel like we're getting backstory to a story that we already know because it's so far detached. Would this show have gripped you more if it started with, the opening sequence is Celebrimbor the elf, the smith, forging the rings, and then the show is Sauron disguised as the Lord of Gifts, gifting them to the races, and then he makes his ring, and then Celebrimbor is axed down by, well, he's not axed down, they spear him to a thing as an example, to make an example out of him because he won't reveal the location of the elven rings, and then the show ends with, because I assume this show is going to end with the forging of the rings. That's that's what they're building up towards. I think it'd be far more interesting to the average person if the show started with the forging of the rings, and the show is about that first, once those rings are created and the deception, and then Sauron puts his ring on, and the elves are instantly like, oh shit, there's just, the elves know the second Sauron puts on his ring, the elves get what's happening. They're suddenly aware of the deception, and they quickly take their rings off, and Elrond takes one to Rivendell, and Galadriel has one, right? They kind of split them all up, and blah blah blah, and in that show you could have the corruption of men into the Nazgul, and you could have and then the show ends with Isildur refusing to destroy the ring, deciding to keep it for himself, and then you're like, boom, and now this is where the story that we know picks up, and we've gotten, basically give us a show that is give us the opening monologue of the Lord of the Rings as a show.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you'd have the big battle, and you'd have the last alliance of elves and men, and all of this stuff. Like that war, the war that happens in the War of the Last Alliance, it's like a 2-year war. It's not until after 2 years that Sauron's like, "Okay, screw these guys," and he decides to come out and start laying waste to people. Right? Like there's so much there. There's so much in that short little bit, as opposed to going way, way, way back and giving us like Harfoots. Nobody needs. They're not only, as much as I love hobbits as the next person.
Sure.
Not only are hobbits not crucial to the Second Age, not only are they not relevant in the forging of the Great Rings in this whole story.
Sure.
But I feel like this show is going to make them relevant to that. And that's going to piss me off.
Yeah.
That's going to be them going, remember hobbits? You like hobbits, don't you?
You like small, insignificant people that can still do great things, right?
Yeah.
Right?
So it's that, I think, is a missed opportunity. Something else that I'm worried they're going to do. I don't know if they're going to, but I'm so worried. Who do you think? So this episode ends with Galadriel. By the way, that's an epic sequence. When Galadriel's fine, they're like, bugger off, go to the Undying Lands. You've done enough. Good for you. Here's my gift to you. Go. And Galadriel's like, they're all heading in, and then Galadriel's like, I'm going to Titanic myself and just jump into the middle of the Atlantic. And now I'm, and then she floats, she treads water for like
days.
Who knows, right? Knows? And I'm like, what are you going to swim back? Like, what do you?
Yeah, like what's your plan?
What is your plan here? Right? Yeah. Hoping that a great eagle will show up? Like, I don't. And then while that's happening, it's cutting back and forth to basically everyone in Middle Earth realizing, oh, maybe we should have heeded Galadriel's warnings, because turns out shit's not so good.
Orcs,
because there's like this. Yeah, there's this like meteor flying, there's like venom symbiote black Spider-Man goo on the leaves that the elf's looking at, and he's like, oh, that's not right. And then there's like this flaming, this cow is like oozing stuff out of it. Like at normal? At any moment, Luke Skywalker is going to come along and drink from the udder. And and then it crashes near the Harfoots, and it's a dude.
Yeah.
It's some mostly naked loincloth dude.
Oh, as you do.
So I have two frustrations with this scene.
Sure.
One is going to sound silly, but I will explain why.
Sure.
It's not. And the other is a genuine concern that I want your opinion on.
Okay.
The thing that I think is silly is that, so it came out like 2 years ago or a year and a half ago that they were looking for people who matched the description of elves, like actors who matched the description of elves and were comfortable doing on-screen nudity. And the rumor was that there was going to be brief nudity in this show when, in a depiction of the first elves being sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Not mutilated. When you like corrupt something. Oh. It's like a fancier word for corrupt. Being, anyways, when the first elves get turned into orcs, they become orcs and stuff like that.
Or whatever, yeah.
Yeah. And that they're and I was like, oh, okay, like that makes sense. And we talked about just in the other episode that came out today, The Fellowship of the Ring with Tom Bombadil, like Tolkien's works did have nudity in them, right? It's Middle Earth. It's not Christian kids camp. Like there's nudity, right? People have sex in Middle Earth. It's
Well, we don't know that.
But the fans, like, there was this outcry because everyone was like, oh, it's just going to be another Game of Thrones with all this, like, gratuitous nudity and stuff like that. And they were like, no, it's not. Like, we're going to use nudity very sparingly and blah, blah, blah.
There's a point.
And there was more and more and more of an outcry. And now the show is rated, it's like 14 plus or whatever. And on the Amazon Prime thing, when it, like, comes up and it tells you what the content is that it's rated for, it doesn't include brief nudity. So I'm guessing the fans' outcry caused them to axe it. Okay. And so my frustration is, I think this guy who crash lands wearing a loincloth is only wearing a loincloth that doesn't make any sense. Why is he wearing that? I think he's only wearing that because of fan outcry. Right? Because if you think about it logically, if you really think about this, that guy's either crashing fully clothed or he's crashing butt-ass naked. There's no... The in-between doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense except for censorship. But my concern, who do you think he is?
See, I have a very...
Because I don't know, but I have a fear.
You have a fear. What's your fear?
No. Tell me... Do you have any theory? Or
well,
you're just like, I have no idea?
It has nothing to do with what I think is possible or what I even, like, I have no idea what is possible.
Okay.
I just have a theory of, like, hey, here's a character from the original series, let's tie him in, and that's where...
I think we're going to the same place here. So you think it's...
I think it is Samwise Gamgee.
Okay, well, that's not where I thought you were going to go.
Gandalf.
Yeah, you think it's Gandalf.
I do.
I'm wondering if that's what they're going to do.
Sure.
And if they do, it doesn't make any sense. And it's not consistent with Tolkien's stuff. Right? Gandalf doesn't come to Middle Earth at this point. Gandalf's alive. Gandalf's been around forever, right? The wizards, as we know them, but they're actually the Astar something. They're like spiritual beings.
Sure.
Gandalf, like how we see him, is just like the physical form, much like Sauron isn't actually a dude, right? He's just. What we see is just sort of the physical form that he embodies in order to interact with the scene world.
Sure. Yep.
Gandalf right now is back in Valinor with all the other, with Radagast and Sauron and many others who don't, like there are others who don't make the trek to Middle Earth. Who aren't sent to Middle Earth with missions. But so I'm worried that that's what they're going to do, and I think it's going to be very similar to what they're doing with the Hobbits, in this kind of like, oh, here's something that you recognize. And again, it's like you're trying to have like, and I sound hypocritical here because I'm saying like, give people stuff they know.
Right.
And then I'm turning around and saying like, no, don't throw that in there just because we know about it.
Yeah.
But I think they're picking and choosing the wrong stuff.
Yeah, it's what you know, how you use it, and how you infuse it.
Yeah.
Right.
So if and it also screws up so much about like the Gandalf history that the in-betweener knows. Right? So like Gandalf talks about discovering and growing fond of hobbits and his time in the Shire and stuff like that. Not that he fell out of the freaking sky and the first people he inhabited were these hobbits that stumble upon him. So, I don't know. Also, on the topic of the hobbits, I like Nori, the character, right? The little rambunctious female hobbit who seems to always be getting into trouble. She's basically like a Bilbo Baggins carbon, because she's like adventurous and what, like she's basically the antithesis of what hobbits are supposed to be. She's adventurous and likes to get into trouble and stuff like that. But her nickname, I can't remember her full name, but her nickname in the show is Nori. Everyone calls her Nori. Why? And she's a completely fictional character. Like, she's made up. She's not, they made her up for this show. Why would you name one of the main characters of your show the exact same name as one of Thorin's dwarves from The Hobbit? Why?
Yeah.
You could name her anything. Right? That'd be like calling one of the elves, or like, well, it's dwarf, so it's a different race, but it'd be like calling, one of the Harfoots Gimli is their nickname. Well, no, but not that Gimli. It's just this is her nickname happens to be Gimli. Well, what? Why? Why would you do that? Why confuse people? Again, the in-betweener that can name off Biff or Buff or Bomber, right? Name off all of the dwarves and think that they have sort of a handle on Middle-earth and the things that are happening. Why confuse people like that? And there's no way nobody caught that. There's no way the show came out and someone was like, oh shit, did you know that in The Hobbit there's actually another character named Nori? No, like anyways.
Well,
I do like the show.
Seems like an oversight. You're heated on things you're heated on, but overall you're okay with it.
I like the show, but I like the show because I think I'm fortunate enough to fall into the category where I understand a lot of what's going on. I know the history that they're not explaining to you. And so I'm able to kind of track with things, and I'm able to they'll say something or they'll show you a location, and I understand the significance of it. I understand what this is supposed to be and what it means and where this is going and where it came from. But a lot of people aren't going to, and I think that they haven't done, and not that you need to have as rich a knowledge as can be, but just explain things a little better. Just dumb it down a little bit for people so that they get what is happening, where things are taking place and why they're taking place, how the world's gotten to the point that it's currently at and what the significance of that is. So,
yeah.
Do you have anything else to say about this first episode of The Rings of Power?
I don't think so.
I am excited moving forward.
Yep. Yeah. Exciting times.
Curious to see where it's going to go.
Yeah, like, you know what? It's an opportunity. It's fun. What a time to be alive. To have a 60 million a pop episode a week coming out. Like,
I think Galadriel is regretting not heeding the advice of the guy running up and down the hallway saying, put your life belts on. But,
right. But I'm sure she can swim. She's had enough time to practice, that's for sure.
That's a long way, though.
Yeah.
That's a long way.
Yeah.
Even if she swam for like 24 hours nonstop at a good pace, we're talking about probably days upon days of straight swimming.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, like when the screen panned on the map across the body of water, oof. Like the English Channel, like swimming the English Channel is like a feat that very few people
this is
done.
Like 500 of the English Channel.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll see what happens.
All right, wrap this up, sir.
All right, thanks for checking us out. Socials below. Like, follow, subscribe. Join us the next time we talk about this episode 2 that is Rings of Power. And hop along the ride with us. And until next time, we will talk to you later.
Wow. Did you I felt like you had something big to say. Until the next time, we'll talk to you later. This just wasn't like prophetic. It wasn't like, you got nothing?
I got nothing.
No, like Lord of the Rings quote, or like, you could have said, until next time, don't tell the elf, or like nothing.
That's until next time, you'll have to toss me.
See, that works.